long time ago, back in the 1980s, when I was in film school, there was one bit of equipment which I dreamed about, and that was a Steadicam. But never did I actually think that I'd find a Steadicam in my own hands. And not only that, something I'd be able to manage. Now this is Steadicam Solo, and this is a revolutionary device. I am super impressed with it because it's manageable, it's lightweight, and I can use it without an arm and vest. So, when it comes to using Steadicam, balance is everything. And once you've got that balance, you're in great shape. So, just to put it to work, here we go. So you can see, I got a Steadicam, and I can move it forward, back, all over the place, and it's fantastic. So let's get some shots. I can show you what it's all about. Move forward and go for your shot. Now, all of the weight is being held on my arm. And as I go up, you're right, mate. And that is a nice Steadicam shot. Fantastic. And back down the stairs. Now, just a few comments. When you're using the original Steadicam, you'd have a vest and you'd have an arm, what they call the iso-elastic arm. And that would basically support the camera, and then you guide it as you control it. When you're using this, you can actually get the vest in the arm, but the way I'm doing it is simply to hold it. There you go. So my arm itself becomes what would be the arm on a Steadicam. So it takes a bit of strength to do it, and that's why you've got to be really conscious about which camera you actually use, which is why I chose the LS300, because it is 4K, so I get that wonderful resolution. I like the pictures, I'd use this camera a lot, and it's light enough that it works great on the Steadicam, and it's heavy enough that it balances brilliantly. So if you put too light a camera, it's not going to work on this device. You could make it work, but you'd have to balance it out with batteries and weights, because it requires a certain amount of weight. And then to check you've got it right, you let go of it, 1, 2. So it should take about 2 seconds for it to drop. And there we go. So that's a nicely balanced Steadicam, and you can do magic with it. Let me step over this way. So you really got to think about your shots. I mean, don't at all be under the impression that because you're using Steadicam that everything's just going to be fantastic and, you know, you've got the most marvelous tool in the world and you don't have to think anymore. It is the most marvelous tool in the world, but you sure got to think about your shots before you do them. And I think that just what I'm seeing on the screen is looking really good. And like I said, this is what gives me those nice long tracking shots. It's not just one thing. Let's see what else we got in this wonderful location. Obviously a tourist hotspot, and a pretty spectacular one at that. And of course I don't know exactly the results till I see it on a bigger screen, but the little screen on the camera is enough to gauge your shots by. And you got to kind of have eyes in the back of your head, because you really do not want to crash into people. Alright, let's see what I can do from this vantage point. So, make it as wide as I can. So that's basically 14mm in full frame 35. And go for a shot. Right round the back of the lion. Now, you can imagine what you would have to go through to get a crane up here. I wouldn't want to think about it. So just doing the shots, try not to kill myself at the same time. And if I give it a little turn, just a tiny little subtle turn as I move, it brings a whole new dimension to it. Now I'm very wide. All right, I might see if I can get a bit higher. Rolling record. And going forward. Nice. And I mean, what's so incredibly fantastic about this is it's lightweight and it's portable and it's a real Steadicam. Don't be under any illusion. It's not a copy, it's not a rip-off, it's a real Steadicam. Whether you're spending a lot of money on a Steadicam which is going to hold, you know, an Alexa, or whether you're doing something which is a lot smaller like I'm doing here, it doesn't really matter. It's the same result, it's the same process. And I simulate a crane move, and down I go, and up I go. Of course, there's lots of other devices out there that will do nice smooth moves for you, and it's become quite fashionable to use the electronic devices. There's many of them out there now. But the advantage of this is it needs no batteries, it's quick to set up, you don't need an external monitor, you just work on the screen on the camera. So it's a different thing altogether. And one of the other things I love about it, it's almost like ballet in a way. When you move, it's an extension of your body. Now, I can't talk too much about the electronic ones, the Ronins and the Movies and all those sort of devices, and I have no doubt that they're very good, but you'll pay more money for them and you'll never get a heavier camera onto certainly the more affordable ones. And not only that, if you're carrying the other devices, the electronic ones, it's a lot on your arms to deal with. Now, don't get me wrong, this is quite a lot on my arm as well to deal with, but I can manage it, and I'm using the sort of camera I want. And there's one other wonderful feature that I haven't even mentioned, which is it also doubles up as a monopod. So if I take these, what I call the wings, and fold them in, and then I can extend the whole thing, and I've got a fantastic monopod to work with. And you might think, why do you need that if you've got a Steadicam? It's because Steadicam doesn't do everything. It's a tool, the right tool, for when you need to get those shots. But there are many times when you just want to blast off shots and do it in a way which is a more conventional type of shooting. And I kid you not, what a wonderful device. Like I said, between 300 or 400 pounds, it's a real Steadicam. It lets you do magic, and it's become an absolute part of what I do, and it comes out on every shoot. As long as you've got the strength in your arm to keep hold of it, then you can do it. And under the railing, and over. And I'm still going. And I said I like 30-foot tracking shots. Well, how about a 150-foot or a 300-foot tracking shot? And it's just a subtle turn. And sometimes the gentler the shot, the nicer it is, like just a tiny little bit of movement. It's not like everything you do is just spot on beautiful. You got to work at it. It's how good you are. All right, what just happens, we've got something really good to film, which is a protest. So this is not a political statement, it's just grabbing some shots.
Free, free Syria! Free, free Syria! Free, free Syria! Down, down, Assad! Down, down, Assad! Putin, your man! Syrian ground will swallow them! Syrian ground will swallow them! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Syria, Syria will be free! Syria, Syria will be free! And the
Something really nice about Steadicam is that you can actually frame it exactly as you want. I've got that balanced at an angle, which means when I go for it up the stairs, I get this nice looking up shot. And there I go. Very reminiscent to Rocky. And I'm up the stairs, and there's the second cameraman on this shoot, that's Viral. You got to know what you're doing, like with anything. You don't just put it in your hands and magic happens, you make the magic happen. So between your skill and the equipment is how the magic happens, coming down the stairs. So the fantastic thing is, you are just so mobile. You're effectively, that's all you got to deal with, what's in my hands. And like I said, you got that monopod. So you can do all sorts of wonderful stuff, just shooting straight off a monopod. And if you want to get up high, you can do all that sort of stuff. I mean, I love monopods anyway, I've been a fan of them forever. The monopod's a bonus. If they didn't give you a monopod, I'd still love this device. But, like I said, you've got that O-ring, that puts you back to where you're balanced. Out with the screen, everything on the camera, any bit of weight is going to affect what happens. So you got to really get it right. But once you got it right and it's balanced, it's an amazing thing. Like I said, you can see how well it's balanced. So I'm impressed. I never thought a Steadicam would be part of my life. Certainly not that I would be the operator and I'd be running around grabbing all the shots, but technology gets better, the cameras get smaller, more manageable. They've obviously found a way to build this without, it costing a fortune. And this is a real Steadicam, there's no doubt about it. It is possible to take the Steadicam, flip the whole thing, so basically you'll be shooting the opposite way with the Steadicam suspended. I haven't worked out how to do that yet. And then there's other fancy things. I don't know how useful this is because I've never used this for a shot, but people spin the thing around while they're walking, that sort of thing. Really, I'm at the beginning of my Steadicam journey, but what I'm thrilled about is that I'm getting the results. So, like I said, it's not all about moving really quickly. It can be subtle shots as well. So I'm recording and let's see how nice and slow I can move. So really slow, and it still gives you a beautiful result. I mean, look at that. The little turn as you go, and you get something amazing. Just a little nudge and that turns it, and then you follow it as you walk. And don't worry if it doesn't look 100% spot on, because usually, at least what I've experienced, is when you get back into your edit suite, you might not be totally confident it worked out all right, but usually I find the results are pretty good. And you can see this is a very long tracking shot. Now it's all about control, and I'm not a master at this stage of control, but the more you do it, the better you get. So let's see what I can do there. Now that's a nice looking shot. So hit the record button, steady the device, and away you go. Imagine how much equipment I need to bring in to achieve that. And it gives you the means to experiment because it is all self-contained, it's in your hands. You don't have to have a crew full of people. You need a camera and the Steadicam, and away you go. So I will say, it will wear out your arms, and it might not look like a big camera, and it's not that big, but you're carrying the whole of that weight, basically one arm, and I use two hands on it sometimes because I have to be able to hold it. But just look at what you got. I mean, that is just a dream piece of equipment as far as I'm concerned. And like I said, uses a monopod as well. And it's not that you can do everything off a Steadicam, but you can choose to do as much as you like, and you don't have to worry about the higher charges either, because it's not very expensive. And the other nice thing about Steadicam is you can get into all sorts of confined places. You just walk through, basically the width of view is what makes it work. And you can see I'm already inside of his shop here. I better get out of here. If you want to think about the concept of Steadicam, how it really works, think of a clock and the pendulum going back and forth. That's perfect balance. In a way, you've weighted the pendulum on the bottom of the Steadicam so it's slightly bottom heavy from the camera at the top. And that's what gives you the Steadicam. And I can run like a lunatic and it doesn't matter, it stays still. Doesn't mean you don't need to have skill. It's as good as you are. I mean, it's a device. You need to make it work. But the device is good. It depends on how good you are in getting the results. Walking through Carnaby Street in London. Very famous street, very well known in the 60s. And as you can see, this is about as steady as you're going to get it. Now what amazes me is here I am filming with the Steadicam right in the middle of London. No one pays any attention, so they just want to stay out of my way. And this is a long shot, so I'm quite staggered at what I'm able to get. Keeping in mind all the weight is on my arms. That's it. Nice. That's Carnaby Street for you.
Yeah.
And the other way. Sorry. So it's how good are you at making it work? And the thing I really like is you can actually get through all sorts of places because the width of the actual Steadicam is less than a person. So you can basically go anywhere with this thing. And the results, quite staggering really. Try and get that shot some other way. How are you going to do that in the middle of London without a crew? And up the stairs. Okay, so let's see what I can do with regards to turning this thing and guiding it as I walk. It can be quite difficult to control, and if you see, as I do it, I can actually maneuver. So you see how it's turning and I follow it round. So it depends how good you are at controlling it. It's not all about walking forward or backward, it's about turning and controlling it as you go. For all the David Bowie fans out there, it's only this week that David Bowie left this world, and as you can see, there's a gathering of people. I don't know how I'm going to fight my way through with the Steadicam, but I'm going to try. Just so you know, that's that wonderful shot, Ziggy Stardust, where Bowie was standing outside a doorway. So maybe we'll just flash up that album and show you. Now this is a good example of when I can use it as a monopod. So quickly, I just fold up those, extend it, and I'm ready to shoot. And I'm going to go in and just grab some shots, not as a Steadicam, but as a monopod. You know, it's a great device. In fact, I go as far as saying it's about as good as you're going to get for the money. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But, like everything, you have to use it for what it's good for. And don't think you're going to shoot everything on the Steadicam. In fact, that's one of the real bonuses, the fact that it also works as a monopod. So, you need the Steadicam for your moving shots. You need the monopod for the, steady shots. It's only one part of the operation, but it's a very important part of it. So with the Steadicam, I kid you not, this Steadicam just on its own, without a vest, you can do magic. And I think the results of what I filmed today will show you exactly what can be done. Try and get that shot some other way. How are you going to do that in the middle of London without a crew?